All right. So we're diving into this article on managing chronic depression naturally.
Yeah.
And it's something I think a lot of us are really trying to get a grip on,
Yeah.
not just the surface level stuff.
Definitely. And this article seems to get that. Like, it digs into some alternatives that might not be on everyone's radar.
Exactly. And so instead of just like, reading a dictionary definition of chronic depression,
Right.
let's just talk for a second about when you hear that. What's the first thing that pops into your mind? Like, how does it actually...
That's interesting you put it that way, because it is beyond just like the clinical definitions and stuff.
Totally.
For me, it always comes back to that feeling of being stuck.
Yeah.
Like your brain is just stuck in this loop of negativity, and it's hard to break free from.
It's like you're in a mental traffic jam.
Yes.
And everyone else is moving, and you're just like, why?
Exactly.
Why am I... Why am I stalled out here? And the article even mentions that, like, how it impacts your energy, your sleep, your inner voice. Like, it's
pervasive.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's not just a bad day. It's like this undercurrent that affects everything you do.
Yeah. So finding ways to kind of shift that energy to get unstuck.
Exactly.
Which is where this whole natural approaches thing comes in.
Yeah.
And they jump right into some, like, specific remedies, St. John's wort. I'll admit I've heard it, but I'm like,
it's one of those
bit of details.
Yeah, it's one of those things people mention, I think, for mood, but the how is important, and it seems like it works on similar brain pathways as some antidepressants, but obviously it's plant derived.
Interesting.
So, and the research is still emerging, though. So it's not a replacement for professional guidance, like the article says.
So more of a, like, talk to your doctor kind of thing before.
Exactly.
Just, like, experimenting on your own.
Exactly. And it's not just St. John's wort.
Right.
The article mentions aromatherapy, acupuncture.
Okay.
They all have these different
Interesting.
proposed mechanisms for influencing mood.
So it's like having a toolbox.
Yeah.
You don't have to use every tool.
Exactly.
But it's good to know what each one does.
I like that.
Speaking of tools, lifestyle changes the article talks about. And exercise is right up there.
Of course.
But what I appreciate is they didn't just stop at exercise is good for you.
Right. It's about understanding the why.
Yes.
Like how physical activity actually changes your brain chemistry.
Okay.
Endorphins get released, and those have mood-boosting effects.
Right.
It's not about, becoming a marathon runner overnight.
Right.
It's about finding ways to move your body that you genuinely enjoy.
Which I am a huge fan of, because it shouldn't feel like punishment. It should feel like something you actually
it should feel good.
Look forward to. And that actually reminds me of something else the article mentioned, like finding those little things throughout the day to look forward to.
Yes.
Those little sparks of joy.
Absolutely. It's about breaking those negative thought patterns. Yes.
And replacing them with those positive ones.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be grand, even just like enjoying a cup of tea in the sunshine or listening to your favorite song.
Yeah.
Those little things can make a difference.
Totally. It's like, that saying, look for the little things.
Yeah.
But it's not even just appreciating them. It's like actively creating them, right?
Exactly.
Which leads to the next thing in the article.
Yeah.
Food.
Right.
And again, not like a list of good and bad foods.
Yeah, they're talking about food's impact on brain chemistry.
Okay.
Which is a whole... it's a whole rabbit hole we could go down.
Sure.
But what we eat doesn't just affect our physical health.
Right.
It impacts our mental state, too.
Yeah, it's all connected.
So if you were putting this article into practice, what's one food swap you would make in your own life?
I've been trying to be more mindful about sugar.
Okay.
Not because I'm anti-treat or anything.
Right.
But that energy crash afterward.
Oh, yeah.
Does my mood no favors?
I feel that.
The article talks about complex carbs.
Okay.
Things like whole grains providing more sustained energy. So maybe swapping out my usual afternoon cookie for some whole grain crackers and hummus or something like that.
See, that feels doable.
Totally.
Not this like huge overhaul, just like a little...
Just a shift in perspective.
Yeah, and this is where I think it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Mindfulness and meditation.
Okay.
I will say I'm always a little like skeptical.
I get it. There's a lot of buzzwords out there.
Yes.
But the way this article frames it is about managing the stress response.
Okay.
Which is directly tied to how chronic depression operates.
So it's less about like sitting on a mountaintop,
exactly,
in the lotus position, and more about what?
It's more about just giving your mind a break from that constant chatter and worry.
Yeah.
Even a few minutes of focused breathing can help.
Okay.
Hit the reset button on your nervous system.
Interesting.
They also touch on art and music therapy in here.
Oh, right.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, like those more creative outlets.
Yeah.
Do you think there's something to that, even if you don't think you're like
absolutely
artistic?
It's not about creating a masterpiece or anything.
Right.
It's about just having that healthy outlet for your emotions.
Okay.
Like journaling, which the article dives into as well.
Because sometimes just getting it out of your head
exactly
and onto paper can
it's
be
clearing out the mental clutter.
Yes. And then you can see it.
Right.
And you can be like,
exactly. And when you can see those thoughts on paper,
yes,
it's easier to start identifying patterns and challenging those negative thought patterns.
Interesting.
Which is where CBT comes in.
Yeah, the article mentions CBT.
Yeah.
But I would love to know, like, how that actually works,
sure.
especially for something like chronic depression.
It's about rewiring those thought patterns that we were talking about earlier.
Right.
So CBT helps you identify those negative thought patterns, and then it gives you tools to challenge them and reframe them.
So it's not just about feeling better in the moment. It's about, like, equipping yourself with the tools you need.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And that actually makes me think about something else they said, which is like having a support network.
Oh, that's huge.
Like people you can talk to.
Chronic depression can be so isolating.
Right.
So having people to talk to who get it, who can offer support and encouragement, that's invaluable.
Yeah, and it's not just about receiving support, it's also about giving it.
Exactly.
Because even small acts of kindness can make a difference for everyone.
Of course.
And you know, one thing that struck me was this whole emphasis on routine. Which seems kind of counterintuitive.
Right.
When you're dealing with something as complex as chronic depression. Like, shouldn't we be embracing spontaneity?
Right.
And all that?
I know. It's like
you know, I feel that sometimes routine sounds great and other times it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what I want.
Right, like finding that sweet spot. Because they're not advocating for this rigid, joyless schedule or anything.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that our brains and our bodies, too, thrive on a degree of predictability.
Like those little anchors throughout the day.
Exactly.
That help you stay afloat.
Yeah.
Even when internally things feel like chaotic.
Having a consistent sleep-wake cycle, regular meal times, even just like setting aside a bit of time each day for something you enjoy.
Right.
Those little routines can be really helpful.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how this comes back to that mind-body connection.
Right.
Which the article touches on again when it's talking about like managing depression without relying solely on medication.
And they bring up some good points here.
Okay.
Like how CBT can be really powerful for like rewiring those thought patterns we were discussing.
Yeah.
They also get into nutritional supplements as another avenue.
Right. Like giving your brain the tools it needs to function.
Yeah. They mention omega-3s.
Right. B vitamins, magnesium.
Oh, yeah. That good stuff.
Yeah. And it's not about just like going to the store and being like.
Exactly. It's not about self-medicating.
Yeah.
But it's about having those informed conversations with your doctor.
Okay, so, like, is there a deficiency?
Yeah, okay.
Got it. And, you know, speaking of things that often get overlooked.
Yeah.
Their point about social connection, really.
Oh, it's so crucial.
Yeah.
And often underestimated. Depression thrives in isolation.
Oh, okay.
So nurturing those connections with friends, family.
Right.
Support groups, you know, it's not just a nice to have, it's essential.
Yeah, because sometimes just knowing that you're not alone.
Exactly.
In the struggle.
Makes all the difference.
Huge.
You know, as we're talking about this, it seems like it's these little things that you can do consistently that really add up over time.
It's like that saying, you know,
a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Right.
You don't have to do everything perfectly overnight.
Right. It's about
finding what works for you.
Okay.
And committing to those small, sustainable changes.
And that brings us to, I think, like the last thing they talk about, which is daily affirmations.
Yes.
Which, I'll be honest, I kind of roll my eyes at a little.
I hear you. They definitely have the potential to induce some eye rolls.
It feels a little cheesy sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Our brains have a negativity bias.
Okay.
It's wired into us.
Interesting.
From an evolutionary standpoint. Affirmations are a way to consciously counteract that.
So it's like giving your brain a pep talk.
I guess.
Even if it
feels silly.
Feels silly.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. And like any new habit,
Right. It takes time.
It takes time and consistency to really see the benefits.
Okay. And they gave that example, like, I am capable of handling whatever challenges come my way.
Yes, simple but powerful.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's like that shift from feeling overwhelmed to feeling empowered.
There you go. Exactly.
So if you had to pick like one affirmation to try, what would it be?
You know, I think I would go with, I am worthy of healing and happiness.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's just a reminder that I deserve to feel good, you know, even amidst the challenges.
Yes. And it's a journey.
Not a destination.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We did.
But this is really just the starting point. The key is to take what resonates with you.
Right.
And just keep exploring.
Keep diving deep.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with just a question to ponder.
Huh?
If you could go back in time and give your past self one piece of advice about managing chronic depression naturally based on everything we talked about, what would it be?
That's a powerful question.
Isn't it?
And one that I hope you'll spend some time reflecting on.
Until next time, be kind to yourselves, stay curious, and keep diving deep.